Am I really my job or social status? There is something almost gravitational about how human identity gets pulled toward external roles. What do you do? Becomes the question that defines us. The business card becomes a miniature portrait of the self. The title after our name transforms from description into identity, from function into being. But observe what happens when these external definitions are temporarily removed. A successful executive retires and suddenly feels lost, as if the person they were has somehow evaporated along with their corner office. A parent whose children have grown and moved away experiences an identity crisis. Who are they when they are no longer actively parenting? An athlete suffers a career-ending injury and faces the terrifying question: if they can no longer compete, who are they? These moments of role loss reveal something profound about how we construct our sense of self. Watch how introductions unfold at social gatherings. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a doctor. Hello, I'm Mike. I work in finance. The profession becomes the shorthand for the person, as if years of living, loving, learning, suffering, and growing can be adequately captured by occupational category. But is the doctor still a doctor when they go to sleep at night? Is the teacher still teaching when they watch a sunset? Is the CEO still leading when they play with their grandchildren? This confusion between role and identity creates a particular form of suffering. The mind begins to believe that worth is determined by position, that value comes from social recognition, that identity depends on external validation. A person loses their job and feels they have lost themselves. Their entire sense of self-worth was constructed around their professional function, and now that the function has ended, they experience existential emptiness. The role ended, the paycheck stopped, the business card became obsolete. But did the person themselves disappear? The interesting thing is that this identification with role often intensifies the closer we get to prestigious position. The more society values a particular function, the more likely we are to merge our identity with it. The surgeon begins to believe they are more fundamentally important than the janitor, not recognizing that both are playing temporary roles in the theater of human activity. Yet there are people who perform their roles skillfully without being consumed by them. They show up fully to their work, they execute their responsibilities with care, but they maintain some essential distance between who they are and what they do. This is not detachment or lack of engagement. This is clarity about the difference between function and being. Watch a skilled actor on stage. They inhabit their character completely. They give everything to the performance, yet they never forget they are playing a role. When the curtain falls, they remove the costume and makeup, but they do not experience an identity crisis. They understand the distinction between the role and the player. What if our jobs and social positions are similar? What if we are consciousness temporarily playing the role of teacher, manager, parent, citizen? What if we can give ourselves fully to these functions while maintaining awareness that they are not the totality of what we are? This perspective does not diminish the importance of work or social contribution. If anything, it might enhance performance by removing the psychological weight of having one's entire identity depend on professional success. The person who knows they are not their job can take appropriate risks, can learn from failures, can change direction when necessary. They are not paralyzed by the fear that changing careers means losing themselves. But this raises an interesting question. If we are not our roles, then what are we? Some identify with their relationships. I am a spouse, a parent, a friend. But relationships, like jobs, are also temporary arrangements. People divorce, children grow up, friendships change. If identity depends on relationships, then identity becomes as fragile as relationships themselves. Others identify with their achievements. I am someone who graduated from this university, who built this company, who won these awards. But achievements exist in the past, and identity exists now. Can present awareness of being be defined by historical accomplishments? Perhaps we identify with our beliefs or opinions. I am a conservative, a liberal, a Buddhist, an atheist. But beliefs evolve, opinions change, perspectives shift. The person who held certain views 20 years ago may hold completely different views today. which set of beliefs represents the real self. The investigation reveals that everything we typically use to define identity, roles, relationships, achievements, beliefs, are temporary, changeable, context-dependent. Yet something remains constant throughout all these changes. What is this that witnesses the changing of jobs but never changes job? What observes the shifting of social status but has no status itself? What remains present through all the transformations of role and function? There is a quality of being that exists independent of all external designations. It was there before you had any job, and it will be there after all jobs end. It exists whether you are respected or ignored, praised or criticized, promoted or demoted. This being has no profession, no title, no social standing. It cannot be promoted or demoted, hired or fired, elevated or diminished by external circumstances. It is what you are beneath and beyond all the roles you play. From this understanding, work becomes something you do rather than something you are. Social status becomes a temporary condition rather than a permanent identity. Success and failure become experiences rather than definitions of self-worth. The paradox is that recognizing the distinction between role and being often leads to better performance in roles themselves. When identity is not on the line, there is freedom to experiment, to learn, to grow, to fail, and try again. Can we inhabit our roles fully while remembering they are roles? Can we contribute to society meaningfully while maintaining perspective about the temporary nature of all social positions? What is this that plays all roles, but is defined by none? This being that can be teacher and student, leader and follower, successful and unsuccessful, yet remains essentially unchanged throughout all these apparent transformations?